So the philological component of our project will consist of critical editions and translations of 10 principal Sanskrit texts on Hatha Yoga, from the earliest one that we know, the Amritasithhi, which was written in the 11th century, right through to the Haṭha Yoga, one of the more recent texts, and we'll write 3 monographs that historicise these primary sources. This is a picture of a folio from the Amritasithhi. It's the codiological jewel in the project's crown. It was written in the 12th century, and it's quite a unique manuscript because it contains not only Sanskrit, the Sanskrit text of the Amritasithhi, but also a Tibetan translation, and it's very unusual to have both, to have a bilingual manuscript. The Amritasithhi is the earliest text to teach the 3 bandhas, and we'll be working with a Tibetologist. We know that by the 14th century this text was taken to Tibet and it became part of the Tibetan canon, and we'll be working with a Tibetologist to assess the influence of the Amritasithhi's teachings on later Tibetan Buddhist traditions. The Haṭha, this text is extraordinary because it teaches 112 asanas in 6 sequences. It's the only medieval yoga text that we found that teaches sequences of asanas, and a lot of the asanas are quite unique because they involve movement. So again, it's one of the only texts where we see moving asanas. Here's an example, upturned dog pose, where the yogin lays supine, joins the knees together, brings them onto the navel, clasps the neck with the hands, and then rotates the legs in one direction, and then rotates the legs in the other direction. So it's a little bit different from the modern dog poses. The ethnographical component will involve interviewing yogi ascetics who practice physical yoga techniques. From our preliminary research, we know that some of them practice the asanas and the techniques that we read of in the medieval sources, but we also know that they're practicing asanas that are not found in medieval sources. So we'll be looking at exactly how their practice is changing, particularly with yoga becoming a global phenomena, and many of these ascetics are connected to the internet. Most of them have smartphones, so when they see a beautiful Californian yogini doing a pose like that, they may well be inspired to add a few things to their own practice. Medieval and modern Indian yoga. We'll be looking at how the medieval sources influenced some of the modern teachings that have become transnational. The Haṭha is a good example. We know that its poses were known to Krishnamacharya and his students, and of course many of his students, Iyengar and so forth, have become some of the most popular yoga teachers in the West. And we see some correspondences between their teachings, between the Haṭha and their teachings. Rope poses, for example, according to Gita Iyengar, were inspired by a text that Krishnamacharya saw rope poses in, and the Haṭha teaches a number of rope poses. So just to conclude, by examining closely yoga's medieval history, the research of this project will enable us to see how modern gurus have adapted and changed traditional teachings for an international audience, and it will provide a clearer picture of yoga's development and its role in Indian religions and society at large.